It's been hugely useful, and we have had to step in to fill the shoes and the space that perhaps Power Grid should have been filling. I also want to say thank you to the work of the strategic organisations involved and the partnership working that's taken place, and that includes the police, the fire and rescue, county council and others. So thank you very much to them, and I'd also like to thank the vast majority of our members who have been involved and done a huge amount of work over the last 10 days as well. Particularly helpful have been volunteers at a local level who have given up their time and money to help local communities. Over the last 10 days, I've stepped aside because I feel and continue to feel that what has happened to us in the county has not been a political, need not have political input. It needed to have a space for our executive and our professionals to get on with the work that they needed to get on with. However, I've been kept closely in touch throughout. We were away for the first 2 or 3 days when this first happened, but during that time when we were away, I kept very closely in touch with a great many residents who had contacted me, and also kept closely in touch with our offices, and I've continued to do that on a daily basis. We've had 5 days at our house without power, electricity, mobile signal, internet, and I can tell you that if you want to experience hardship, that's what you should try. It is awful. Now, that's why those people who are still off power need all our condolences and help that we can give them. I think it's completely unacceptable in 2021 to allow so many residents to be without power for so long. That's why, when I spoke to the Prime Minister on Saturday, I said, coming out of this, the one thing I really want to see happen is a full inquiry. And I would like that to happen as soon as possible. I've been disappointed, frankly, with Power Grid's business continuity plan, their ability to cope should there be another storm, and probably above all, the integrity of the infrastructure that is supplying power. I think Power Grid engineers have been brilliant on the ground, and I pay great tribute to them for all the hard work that they put into this. But there do need to be questions put and challenges made towards Power Grid. And I would look to volunteers, the communities, residents, parish and town councils in particular, also now, to play their role in putting questions and giving guidance about the way forward. When we had flooding in Morpeth, it was a similar kind of emergency. Following that, Government and Environment Agency invested heavily in flood defence schemes. We were told the flooding was a 1-in-100-year event. We're told that this storm is a 1-in-100-year event. We have got to make sure that investment takes place following this, whether that's providing infrastructure for communities to run their own generation, or whether it's just to make sure that the infrastructure that's there is fully fit for purpose. But we have got to make sure that questions are asked and challenges are made, and that's why I want this inquiry to take place as soon as possible. And may I finally end, as I began, by paying huge tribute to the council at all levels, and I'm looking at those officers who spend hours and hours and hours in the control room, all our partners that were involved. Thank you. Right, we'll now move on with the rest of the meeting. We begin with apologies for absence. Do we have any, please?
Councillor Seymour.
Councillor Seymour. Sorry, is there another one down there? Or? Councillor Horncastle has given his apologies as well. We then move on to the minutes of the meeting that took place on the 9th of November and the 18th of November. Can I agree those as true record and sign them later?
Agreed.
All in favour? Yes, thank you. Now, disclosure of member interest. Does anyone have any member interest to declare now? Wojciech.
I would like to declare an interest in point 11 of the agenda as a director of Northumberland Enterprise Holdings.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Riddle.
Likewise, item 11 as a director of accounts.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jeff Watson.
Similar.
Similar.
The same for Guy as well.
And also Guy Renner-Thompson. Okay.
Will we be quorate?
Sorry?
Are we going to be quorate for that? It's not a pecuniary interest, they could still stay in the vote.
So if it's on the register, then actually you do have to leave. I've just been reading it because both the councillors came to ask me about that. So if they have put it on our register, the way that the code is drafted, then you do have to leave. If it's not on the register, then you feel that you're not prejudiced, and if the ordinary person would think that you're not prejudiced, then you can remain and take part.
Right. Thank you. And you have some time to mull that over before we get to that stage. Yes, John Riddle.
We're having difficulty hearing at this end, but I think I think the message was if it's on the register, we have to leave the meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you've got time to consider that before we get too far. So thank you for that. The next one is around the setting of the council tax base. I'm going to ask Councillor Wearmouth to introduce this as the Cabinet member responsible, and then ask Jan Willis to take us through this report.
Thank you, Leader. This is a quite a lengthy document, but it is a straightforward part of setting the council process for the budget in place. I don't propose to take a significant amount of time in discussing it. The recommendation is clear that we need to accept the council tax base for 22-23 as detailed within the appendix, and effectively this is just reflecting the fact that there are a number more dwellings in the county that have been either constructed or become habitable. There are, as you'll see in the various parts of the document, there are fewer uninhabited dwellings, and there's, the full detail is in the report. I won't go through it line by line. Thank you. Over to Jan.
Jan, good morning. Do you want to add anything to the report?
Nothing to add, Leader, but happy to take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So are there any questions on this report? No. So if not, the Cabinet is recommended to approve the council tax base for 2022 to 23 as detailed in Appendix A. Is there a proposer for that? Proposed by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Are we all in favour? Please show. Yep, all in favour. Thank you. The next one is the financial performance of 2021 to 22, the position at the end of September 2021. Again, I'll ask Councillor Wearmouth to give us a brief introduction and then pass to Jan Willis.
Thank you very much. So this is just the latest in terms of quarterly reporting of the financial performance. You'll note an underspend of 3.185 million. There are a number of other points in the recommendations, but as ever, it's a very straightforward document. I shall hand straight over to Jan for any comments that she wishes to make.
Jan.
Thank you, Leader. Just a few points to elaborate on. So the council will be receiving further funding of £270,000 in relation to the reduction in sales fees and charges income as a result of COVID for this quarter, which is welcome. Officers have carried out a detailed review of the capital programme, and that has resulted in proposals to reprofile £59.3 million of expenditure from the current year to 22-23, and I think that is a reflection of, again, of the continuing COVID impact, which has delayed the start of some of those projects. There have been difficulties with supply side issues of materials and availability of contractors, etc. there are also a couple of other recommendations that I just wanted to touch upon. So the first is to set aside £222,000 of the underspend in communities and business development to fund the purchase and first year running costs of 3 mobile units. Those will support our work out in the community around health and well-being, but will also replace some of the old mobile library units. It had originally been intended that the purchase of those units would be funded from the Contain Outbreak Management Fund, but again, due to the lead-in time for the delivery of those units, that will not now be possible because the comp funding has to be spent by the end of this financial year and the units will not arrive until after the 31st of March. So the proposal is that we set aside some of the underspend in order to finance that, and Cabinet are asked to agree that those costs will be incorporated in the budget and medium-term financial plan, which will be considered by Council in February. But that in the meantime, given the urgent need to place those orders, that the Executive Director for Communities and Business Development can go ahead and do that. And the only other thing to note is that we have received an additional £120,000 of funding from the Department for Education to support the acceleration of the opening of family hubs across Northumberland, and Cabinet are asked to agree that a delivery partner and subsequent spend of that grant funding can go ahead in order to ensure that it's spent by the deadline of 31st of March 2022, so that we don't have to return unspent grant. Thank you, Leader. That's all I wanted to say by way of introduction, but as always, happy to take questions.
Thank you very much indeed. A very good picture, especially given the grave difficulties we've had to cope with over the last 12 months. And so thank you very much to everyone involved in that. I would just like to ask Mo Taylor just to touch on the mobile libraries question, because we know that we are all very keen to continue the mobile library service. Could you just give us a sense or two on your thinking on this, Mo, please?
Yes, of course, Chair. So we are in a position where the mobile library units are probably ready for renewal, but instead of making that plan specifically for mobile libraries, we're looking at an integrated model now with communities together to make sure we can cover off and reach those far-reaching rural locations. So the integrated mobile provision will allow us to do both things, and I think that will be welcomed by the communities that we're serving. So this plan means that we can get that in train ready for the spring, with the orders being placed as quickly as possible. Yeah. So communities will get a better offer.
Good. Well, that's exactly what we'd all like to see. Nigel, did you want to add anything to that?
Just, Chair, thank you. Just to reinforce what the comments from Maureen, and the fact that we absolutely recognise as a service, as a council, the value of the mobile library service. It was evident in the consultation we did. So it's something we really do want to ensure providing the best possible community service out in those more rural areas.
Yeah, because I do remember there was a time when, some years ago, when we were thinking about the mobile library service, and we said then we did not want to ever cut that. So I'm very pleased. I'm sure everybody will be that use that service. So thank you very much indeed for that. Are there any other questions or queries for the report? No? Okay, so if not, would someone like to propose the recommendations proposed by Councillor Willa, seconded by Councillor Riddle? Are you all in favour? Please show. It's unanimous. Thank you very much indeed for that. Now we move on to the Executive Director of Children's Services and Adult Social Care. The first one is around the opportunity for expansion of Northumberland HE project choice. Someone's going to tell us what HE means, and that's going to be Councillor Renner Thompson.
Thank you, Leader. HE stands for Health Education England, believe it or not. So this is a proposal for Health Education England to provide apprenticeships and internships for our young people with SEND, special educational needs, within council departments. It's something that's normally provided and already provided within the NHS, so this is a bit of a partnership work for us with them. It's very much part of our wider strategy to help people with special educational needs into full-time work and employment. Survey work done previously showed that a lot of people and families of people with SEND felt that the education they were getting wasn't helping them into full-time work and employment. Therefore, by providing apprenticeships within our own services, we're able to help those people move on with their lives. It's a very, very worthwhile initiative, and one that I hope you can support. But Neil Dorwood is here to provide more information if members have questions.
Thank you, Guy. Neil, would you like to press your button and tell us a little bit more? Except we have read the report.
Yes, so we've been working with Health Education England for the last approximately 12 months, and that was in supporting them to recruit young people with educational healthcare plans into placements within NHS settings. That complies with all of our objectives around developing those opportunities for young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And we have negotiated that rather than concentrate on just health settings, if we had an organisation of the scale of Northumberland County Council, well, that would bring greater opportunity for those young people to actually enter the world of work in quite a diverse range of roles and opportunities available within the council. So we thought that opportunity was one not to be missed.
Good. It's a great initiative, I think. Anyone got any questions or queries about this? Very, very good initiative, which I'm very pleased to see. Thank you, Neil, for that. So is there a proposer for the recommendation proposed by Councillor Renner-Thompson, seconded by Patterson? Hands up if everybody's agreeing with that. I think that's everyone. Thank you very much indeed. Then we move on to the Northumberland Strategic Skills Plan 2021 to 25. And I'll again ask Councillor Renner-Thompson to give us an overview, and then ask Neil if he wishes to add anything to this.
Yes, thank you, Leader. This is an exceptionally important piece of work, which is very close to my heart. The Northumberland Strategic Skills Plan 2021-25 sets out our vocational education offer for those who aren't in academic or university education, those that are going on into industry and more skills-based role. This is going to be an increasingly important part of our county as we have these huge technology and engineering manufacturing firms coming into the county. The headline business is British Volt, as you know, but we have several more coming into the county. And as we develop our industrial economy, if our own young people don't go on to work in that industrial economy, then really what's the point in having them here? We really need to make sure that our own native Northumberland population is upskilled and ready to work in these fantastic new industries and take advantage of the higher wages that come with working in those sorts of industries. So the Education Department did a most wonderful piece of work matching up what our vocational offer already is, matching up the different parts of the economy in different parts of the county, and working out what is needed to fit our economic future. And this is the document that sets that out. Neil is here to answer any other further questions, but I do believe this is one of the most important pieces of work that the Education Department has done for quite some time.
Neil, would you like to add anything?
Thank you. Yes, just to point out, I think the document pretty much sells itself in terms of its content, but just in terms of our need for the document, just knowing our priorities, we didn't feel was sufficient. We wanted something physical that we could share, both internally and externally, so that we can more regularly integrate our vision across the different directorates of the council, but also wider than that with the local college within the county, for example, and with the other education providers who are also working to achieve the objectives for the county.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you, Leader. Just to emphasise the points that Councillor Renner-Thompson and Neil have made, this is a really important piece of work. It will be all very well if we were to bring in all of the thousands of jobs that are anticipated to come into Northumberland, in particular into South East Northumberland, but we would fail if we don't manage to find a bridge that allows people who are historically maybe in families and communities that have struggled to go on to further education, whether that's in colleges or universities and so on. You know, this is going to be critical in terms of making sure that people have access to those jobs, and fundamental to the drive that that you've outlined and that Councillor Patterson's outlined about driving down inequality and reducing the number of workless households, reducing child poverty. Education is the gateway to that, and this is a fantastic document. There's loads of work still to do in terms of getting all of the institutions and so on in place to enable us to do this in all of the programmes, but this is a great start along the way. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Any questions or queries? Any comments? I think we are very much in favour of this. I note that the Family and Children's Services Overview and Scrutiny Committee looked at this, and they are fully supportive as well, which is good. I guess the question is how will people see this plan? Will it be on, or is it already on the internet?
It isn't yet, but we have some dedicated education websites which are nested within the council website, and that is the place where we will make this public if approved.
Right. So do you know roughly when that might be?
We can mobilise that incredibly quickly, so it would take a matter of days from getting the go.
Okay, so the message very much is this is us doing our very best to help people improve their skills or learn new skills, and you can get more details on the internet, hopefully in the next, well, if we say the next week, that would be good. Okay, so thank you again very much. Would anyone like to propose these recommendations, proposed by Councillor Renner-Thompson and seconded by Councillor Patterson? Thank you very much. Are you all in favour? Please show. That's unanimous. So thank you very much indeed. And that takes us to the end of the Children's Services and Adult Care section. We move on to Communities and Business Development. And this is the Household Support Fund. Councillor Patterson, do you want to talk to us about this as an introduction?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, I absolutely welcome this funding, which will go to help those in our communities who need help the most. And I understand it is to be distributed by Communities Together, who are ideally placed to be able to direct this funding to the right people.
Thank you. Which officer would like to take us through this? Yes, Maureen.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as Councillor Patterson's just referenced, this is an allocation 2.4 million, which is from government. It's the latest in a series of grant funding that we've had since the beginning of COVID, which we've successfully managed through Communities Together. We now have a very well-established arrangement with trusted partners and community groups, so we are confident that we can reach the most vulnerable. A high proportion of this fund will cover off the free school meal allowance. It's also aimed at those who are not in receipt of benefits, so it gives us that discretion. We know that families and individuals are facing some difficulties as we come into winter, to support them with their fuel and food heating bills. So it's a very welcome grant as far as my services are concerned. I think that we have the ability from the 6th of October to the 31st of March to get this money right, into the heart of our communities, and we're working through that now. We are required to give a management information report retrospectively each month, and that will come through next week for the first tranche of what we've been able to allocate. But all the preparations are already in place. Obviously, we know that we will support free school meal allowances up until Easter, and that's a huge part of the work. And we have got a reserve to allow us to have a little bit of flexibility in case during the winter, depending on how heavy the winter becomes, that we'll have some reserves to be able to support individuals who are facing difficulties. And basically that's the programme. I think there's sufficient detail in the report, unless there's any more questions.
Thank you. Mo, any questions? John Riddle.
Yeah, Mo, I see that one of the criteria is it's not just people, or it's not people that are just on benefits. And, you know, people are incredibly proud and humble, and, you know, a lot of people are under the radar here. How are we actually going to find these people? And, well, I'm sure we'd find some, but how are we going to try and find them all? That's my question.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Riddle. So communications and getting good comms out is really key, and you'll note that the messaging that we use in communities together is we don't differentiate. We just say, if you need any support, come forward. We've also established some really strong networks with social prescribing in primary care, so people who are connected in their GP practices where maybe they're explaining or kind of talking about some difficulties, that we have a route in to capture people in those circumstances. And we're also very, very tied into our own local services in the council. So we have eyes and ears around the council services to bring forward referrals for anybody who feels there are vulnerable people who need our help. But I think the comms messages is really important. Doing a big briefing with parish councils in a week's time to make sure that we've got this information out there, and we're not hitting it with in terms of this is the criteria you must meet. It's more about, if you're in difficulty, come forward and we'll find a way to support you.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Any other questions or comments? I would say thank you very much for all the work that's gone into this. I think it's hugely important work. And there won't be that many councils, Mo, who are getting themselves so geared up to be able to work with communities and voluntary sectors and other, as we are, I don't think. I mean, I think we are certainly leading the field on this, aren't we?
Thanks, Chair. I think we are recognised nationally as a good example of how this is done. I'm not saying that we're in competition with other local authorities, but we are flying the flag there.
Yeah, no, goodness me, no, certainly not in competition. But I think it's only right that we say thank you for that, because we are doing really well on this, something that's very important to everyone. So thank you.
I'll take that back to the team. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so is there a proposer for these recommendations? Proposed by Councillor Watson and seconded by Councillor Patterson. Are you all in favour? That's great. Thank you very much. Now we move on to the Willa Neighbourhood Plan. And I'm going to ask Rob Murphin to briefly take us through this report, please, which we've read, and we've thoroughly enjoyed reading it because it's a super piece of work, huge amount of detail in here, all I can say is well done to the people that put this together. Do you want to touch on it, Rob?
Yes, Glenn, I would just add that I think this is a good template for a neighbourhood plan because it's a positive plan. It identifies sites for housing, so it isn't perhaps what neighbourhood plans are sometimes characterised as being anti-development. It's a mixture of policies requiring a certain quality of development, but also it identifies sites that the community is supportive of development taking place. So I think it's well-rounded and proportionate. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anyone got any comments on this? Excellent plan. So can I thank everyone involved in the Willa Neighbourhood Plan, and Councillor Mark Mather, who has done a huge amount, not just over the last 11 days, but a huge amount for his area, and helping to get this together with everyone else that was involved. So there are recommendations there. Would someone like to propose those? Councillor Renner-Thompson, seconded by Councillor Horncastle. All agreed?
No. Councillor Horncastle is not there.
We don't take a vote on this?
Councillor Horncastle isn't there.
So Councillor Horncastle?
Isn't in the meeting.
No, he's not in the meeting, no. That's fine. That's fine. All in favour?
No, I'll second it.
That's seconded, yes.
Good. Yes.
And all in favour? Yep. Good. Thank you very much. I thought I said Patterson. Did I say that? Oh,
sorry, Chair.
Slip of the tongue. Thank you very much.
Just wanted to make sure.
Well, these meetings would be really boring if there wasn't the occasional deliberate mistake. And, I'm sure we all enjoy them, don't we? Yes, there we are. Probably won't be another one, but you never know. So thank you very much for that. Then we move on to the new capital proposals. Councillor Wearmouth, we've got a lot of really good projects here. Do you want to take us through those, please?
Happily, yes, and perhaps if we want to do them one by one rather than en bloc when it comes to voting, that
Yes.
Might make things a bit more straightforward as well. So the first one is there's a series of projects and pieces of spend here within the council. Some of them are very large, others more modest in size, but not necessarily in terms of their impact. So the first one we've got is part of the Energising Blythe programme for cultural centre and marketplace works, and the request is to approve the commencement of the design works for the project, which is grant funded through the Future High Street Fund to the tune of £7.2 million, included already within the medium-term financial plan. To note that a further report will be brought forward once the project develops to an outlined business case and has been independently appraised. And just to speak a little bit more to what this is, the marketplace in Blythe is rather a vast and many people would consider unfriendly sort of a place in terms of its scale. It needs something to bring it to life, and a lot of work was done in previous years by officers, by the local MP and by councillors and ourselves in the Cabinet to make sure that we secured this funding for from Future High Street funds from the government, which is enabling the works to take place. It will be, when it comes to fruition, something that will really transform the market square, which at the moment is looking a little bit forlorn after Storm Arwen and the damage that's been done there. So, this investment can't come soon enough. I don't have any other bits on that. I don't know if councillors might want to say something.
Any questions or queries on the first one? Wojciech.
I just would like to comment, really, that's a great project. It's really needed in Blythe to make the marketplace a thriving place, to support businesses and cultural offer in the town. So I really welcome that recommendation. I really want to make it moving forward.
Good, thank you very much. Next one.
Certainly. So the next one is from the Energising Blythe programme again, and this is for the Energy Central Campus, and the request is to approve the acceleration of expenditure of £400,000 in the 21-22 plan for the budget of £9 million, including a contribution of £2.5 million from the council, which is included in the council's medium-term plan, and note that a further report will be brought forward once the project develops to an outlined business case stage, and it has been independently appraised. And again, this is just to speak a little bit more in terms of what this is looking to achieve. This is a key bit of the report in many respects that we've seen a little bit earlier, in that if we're going to make sure that we have the ability to get residents into those jobs that will be created by the likes of British Volt, by JDR Cables, by Tharsis and Universal Wolf, but also many, many others who are siting themselves in the Blythe Estuary and the surrounding area as part of the green industrial revolution and all that's going on in that area. We've got to make sure that people have the skills to do that, and that means providing a place for them and the education to allow that, and that's really what the Energy Central Campus is driving at.
Good, thank you. Okay, everyone happy? Next one then.
The next one again is another part of the Energising Blythe programme, and this is looking at NEP1 and Battleship Wharf, and it's to approve a capital grant of £500,000 to the NEP1 and Battleship Wharf project. And this is a project that's funded through the Blythe Town deal, and we thank the government for the support that they've provided there. And the recommendation is that the project progress to a formal submission of to DLUHC HC, noting that Northumberland Council is the accountable body for all of the energising Blythe programme funds allocated by the Department for Levelling Up Housing and Local Communities, which is what that acronym stands for, and that includes the town deal funding. And the importance of this bit is that, as you'll be aware, the Council and the LEP through advance have been investing significant sums in the Northumberland Energy Park Site 1. That's where JDR Cables will site themselves. But the wider context of the north bank of the estuary includes an area of quays and areas that are working in the offshore sector at Battleship Wharf. This will provide a link through so that it can become one contiguous quay, so that you have multiple berths, and it massively increases the flexibility of that area to serve the wider NEP 1, 2 and 3 sites and other parts of the Camas Peninsula and the river estuary as well. So it's a really important thing that we approve and make sure that we get on quickly with.
Good, okay. Wojciech again?
Yes, that's me again. Just maybe a quick summary of the 3 proposals. It's just show how great this council and administration are doing for Blythe and southeast Northumberland. It provides expanded, really cultural offer. It provides new skills opportunities like education, vocational training, industrial skills, etc., as well as new infrastructure and employment opportunities through NEP 1 and Battleship Wharf. And it's really great for Blythe, it's really great for southeast Northumberland. I would like to thank you for everyone who was involved in that project, officers, councillors, everyone really. Blythe Town Deal Board, Blythe Town Forum, everyone. Thank you very much for it.
Thank you, Wojciech. So that brings those 3 in Blythe together, and it certainly is a question of investing heavily in Blythe, but also sustainably when we look at the education and skills section. So great news. I'll probably pass on now to the next one to Councillor Watson to tell us about the coastal path.
Yes, Glenn. The coastal path around England is just about complete. We've seen sections of it being completed up to Amble and Amble up to the north. This is really we're just accepting the money from the government to complete this up to Berwick, and it's a wonderful map which you'll see explains the whole thing at the end of the papers, and it has my full support, and I think it's a really good thing for tourism, for the county, and also for residents to use as well. So I'm fully supportive of this. Thank you.
Excellent, good. We all look forward to walking it soon, don't we, Councillor Patterson? Absolutely. Yes. Anything else from anyone on this particular one? I'm going to move on to back to Councillor Wearmouth, because it's about money again, the noise monitoring equipment.
Thank you, Leader. And I almost felt that Councillor Renner Thompson was going to jump in and say that he was looking forward to walking to the Scottish borders from his ward in Bamborough, and he's given us the thumbs up. So I may join him on that when the path's completed, and I'm sure we could raise some money for charity or something like that.
And the noise monitoring.
And the noise monitoring, because it's important that we're conscious of noise, and people at home may be able to hear a great deal of it from outside on the feed. So this is one of the more mundane but very necessary bits of business that we'll do, which is to purchase new noise monitoring equipment at a cost of £65,000 to be met by the revenue contribution capital outlay from underspends within the 21 to 22 public protection revenue budget. And so this is to ensure that we can keep residents content, that where we've got noise complaints and so on, that we can investigate properly and so on.
Yeah, good, thank you. I mean, one of the increasingly common problems and complaints that we get from people is around noise, so this will help us meet our responsibilities even more efficiently. Okay, I think everyone's happy with that. Then I would like to move on to the off-street parking provision in Boomer. Boomer is a lovely little former fishing village. May still be a little bit of fishing there, but it's in Councillor Patterson's ward, and she's been kind enough to involve me in discussions around us trying to find parking provision there for about 18 months. And would you like to tell us where we are now, Councillor Patterson?
Well, can I just say that I'm extremely delighted and grateful that the council has recognised that Boomer does need some extra car parking. And as you pointed out, Councillor Sanderson, it is a charming fishing village, and they have been coping with an awful lot of visitor traffic, mainly down to the easy access to the beach and the sea. So I'm tremendously pleased. Thank you very much, everyone.
Good. And I want to thank you for all that you've put into this, which has been very significant. And you've had to deal with a lot of queries, sometimes some bad temper from one or two residents, but you've done really well, and it's actually down to you that this is here today. So well done. We move on to the Sustainable Warmth Grant, which I'll just take briefly, which is around the grant award that we've had of £2.2 million to deliver efficiency measures, and we're going to be doing this good work to 220 homes. And we want to do more, and we will do more, but it's all part of our very ambitious climate change action plan. And I think I'm right in saying, Darcy, that we will be wanting to do more in this. Yeah, good. And then that takes us to the Wile and Wagon Way improvements. I'm going to ask John Riddle, who's our Cabinet Member responsible for local services, or Geoffrey Watson, who's our Cabinet Member for healthy living, to touch on this very good initiative that we've been working on for quite a long time now. And I think we're now, thanks to the work of officers and members, I think we're there now. Do you want to touch on this, or are you happy just to take the recommendation as it stands?
I'll just touch on it, Chairman. As you know, this is something that I inherited from you, so you probably know more of the background than me. But basically, it's just to ask us to accept a contribution of just over £500,000 from Sustrans for the highway improvements. And it's going to be a great link, and, you know, we welcome it. Very good. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Any questions or queries on that one, or indeed on anything else that we've talked about in this section of really good investment right across the county? Okay, so can we have a proposer for these, please? Proposed by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Renner-Thompson. All in favour? Thank you very much. That's all agreed, and that's unanimous. Now we move on to our next report, which is, well, there isn't a report. This is actually the urgent business section. I have not been advised of any. Have you, Chief Executive? No. So therefore, I now move on to the exclusion of press and public, because we now need to touch on some issues that that need to be held in closed session. So may I have the formal resolution, please, proposed by Councillor Wearmouth and seconded by Councillor Watson. Are you all in favour? Okay, so can I thank everyone who's joined us this morning, and we'll see you next time.